Chosen one, this message is not finding you by accident, and this moment is not random. There is a weight in your spirit you have been trying to name, a restlessness that has followed you even when you try to rest, because heaven has been pressing on you with urgency. You have been asking why your talent feels stalled, why your progress feels delayed, and why you keep sensing that something is unfinished. The truth is simple and sobering. Someone is waiting for your help, and your hesitation has placed you in a silent pause between calling and obedience. Anointed one, your gift was never meant to stay hidden in safety. Your skill was never designed to be perfected in isolation. There are lives connected to what you carry, people whose relief, clarity, and provision are tied to your willingness to step forward. What you call fear, heaven calls resistance to expansion. What you call delay, heaven calls a final warning before movement. This is not about chasing wealth for status. This is about sustaining a mission that cannot survive without your courage. If this word is stirring something deep within you, stay aligned with what is unfolding here, remain connected, and mark this moment by responding in faith. Let your spirit testify by engaging fully, and if you are ready, let heaven know by writing 777 in the comments as a signal that you are prepared to move. Chosen one, the waiting has reached its limit. Someone needs what you carry, and the time to step out is now. Chosen one, there is a reason this word continues to press on your spirit, even when you try to distract yourself with routine. You have felt it in the quiet moments when the noise fades and your thoughts become louder than your surroundings. That feeling is not anxiety, and it is not confusion, it is recognition. Heaven is reminding you of something you agreed to long before you understood the cost. You were never called to live small, safe, or hidden. You were called to carry something that solves problems, lifts burdens, and interrupts cycles in other people's lives. Anointed one, you have been asking for clarity, but heaven has been waiting for consent. You have been praying for provision, but God has been watching to see if you will move with what you already have. There is a person, maybe many people, whose breakthrough is tied to your obedience, not your perfection. They are waiting not because you are flawless, but because you are willing. And right now, the delay you feel is not punishment, it is pressure. It is the final tension before movement. I know this because I have stood in that same place, chosen one. There was a season in my life where I had the vision, the skill, and the desire, yet everything felt frozen. I would wake up tired not from work, but from resistance. I would sit still for hours, replaying ideas in my mind, refining them endlessly, telling myself I was preparing. But the truth was simpler and harder to face. I was hiding. Not because I lacked ability, but because I feared exposure. And exposure is the doorway to responsibility. Chosen one, heaven does not expose you to shame you. Heaven exposes you to position you. What you are carrying was never meant to be developed in isolation. It was meant to be released in the presence of people who need it. Your gift does not mature in secrecy forever. At some point it demands breath, voice, and visibility. And when you resist that moment, your spirit feels heavy, restless, and unsatisfied because destiny is being delayed by comfort. There is a lie many gifted people believe, especially those who carry a spiritual sensitivity. The lie says, if I stay hidden, I stay humble. But humility is not invisibility. Humility is obedience without needing applause. When you refuse to be seen, you are not protecting your heart. You are withholding provision from those assigned to you. And that is why this message feels urgent, not gentle. Heaven is not whispering to you right now. Heaven is calling your name with authority. Anointed One, think about the moments in your life when you felt most alive. They were not moments of safety. They were moments of service. Moments when something you did or said shifted someone else's world, even in a small way. That feeling you remember is your alignment. That is what wealth is meant to sustain. Not luxury, not image, not comparison, but continuity of impact. You were never meant to help once and then retreat. You were meant to build something that keeps helping even when you are tired. This is why money keeps coming up in your spirit, even when you try to spiritualize it away. Money is not the goal, but it is the tool. Without it, missions burn out. Without it, compassion collapses under pressure. Without it, good intentions die quietly. Heaven is not calling you into greed. Heaven is calling you into stewardship. And stewardship requires structure, courage, and visibility. Chosen One. There is someone watching your life right now, even if you do not know their name. They are watching how you hesitate, how you shrink, how you delay. Not because they are judging you, but because they are hoping. Hoping you will step forward so they can finally breathe easier. Hoping you will build what you keep talking about. Hoping you will stop disqualifying yourself with fear disguised as wisdom. I have learned this through painful honesty. There were people in my own journey who needed what I was carrying, but I made them wait while I tried to feel ready. And readiness never came through thinking. It came through movement. The moment I stepped out, imperfect and uncertain provision followed alignment. Not before, after. That is the order of heaven. Anointed One, you do not need a sign. This stirring is the sign. You do not need permission. This message is the permission. You are not behind. You are at the edge. But edges require courage. They require letting go of the version of you that survives and stepping into the version of you that serves. This is not about forcing doors. It is about responding when heaven opens them. And right now, a door is open in front of you that only obedience can walk through. You have delayed long enough. The waiting has shifted. The weight you feel is not meant to crush you. It is meant to push you forward. Chosen One, lift your eyes from your fear and look at the assignment. Someone is waiting for your help, and the moment you move, heaven will move with you. Chosen One, now that the call has been made clear, heaven begins to expose what has been quietly blocking your flow. Not to condemn you, not to shame you, but to free you. Every elevation requires illumination. And before God releases greater provision through your hands, He removes what has been restricting your reach. What you are about to recognize may feel uncomfortable, but it is holy discomfort. It is the kind that precedes alignment. Anointed One. The first shadow you must face is the fear of being seen. This fear is subtle, spiritualized, and often disguised as wisdom. You tell yourself you are waiting for the right time, the right polish, the right level of mastery. But deep down you know the truth. You are afraid of judgment, afraid that once you step into the light, your imperfections will be visible, afraid that people will misunderstand your intentions, critique your work, or dismiss your effort. And so you hide, not completely, but just enough to stay safe. I have lived this, Chosen One. There were seasons when I shared just enough to feel productive, but not enough to feel vulnerable. I would prepare endlessly, refine endlessly, plan endlessly, all while telling myself I was being responsible. But the longer I stayed hidden, the heavier my spirit became. Because gifts do not suffocate quietly, they protest. And when a gift is meant to serve others hiding, it is not humility, it is delay. Anointed One, hear this clearly. Invisibility is not purity. Invisibility is avoidance. You were not anointed to be unseen. You were anointed to be available. The people assigned to you cannot benefit from what they cannot find. And every time you choose comfort over visibility, you are not protecting yourself. You are withholding relief from someone who has been praying for exactly what you carry. The second shadow is quieter, but more dangerous. It is ignorance of numbers. This is where many spiritually sensitive people stumble, because they believe focusing on money will corrupt their heart. So they disconnect from it. They avoid the math. They undercharge. They give endlessly without structure. They pour out without replenishment. And then they wonder why burnout follows calling. Chosen one numbers are not unspiritual. They are neutral. They tell the truth without emotion. They reveal sustainability. When you refuse to look at them, you are not being faithful. You are being careless with the vessel God is trying to expand. I have watched gifted people collapse under the weight of their own generosity because they never learned to value their time, their energy, or their resources. There was a moment in my own journey when I realized I was serving from sacrifice instead of stewardship. I was helping people, but I was tired. I was giving, but I was resentful. Not because the work was wrong, but because the structure was missing. When I finally sat down and faced the numbers, it hurt. I saw how much I had been ignoring, how much I had been absorbing without accounting for the cost. But that pain brought clarity, and clarity brought peace. Anointed one, wealth is not about excess. It is about endurance. If your mission cannot survive financially, it will collapse emotionally. Heaven is not calling you to hustle. Heaven is calling you to honor what it costs to show up consistently. Money is the system that allows your assignment to breathe. And when you treat it lightly, your mission suffocates slowly. The third shadow is the one most people never admit out loud: the fear of rejection. This fear does not just stop you from selling. It stops you from asking, from inviting, from offering. It convinces you that silence is safer than no, that waiting is wiser than risk, that if you never offer, you never have to face refusal. But this fear is a thief. It steals momentum. It steals connection. It steals confidence. Chosen one rejection is not proof that you are unworthy. It is proof that you are visible. Every person who carries something valuable will be rejected by those who are not assigned to receive it. That is not failure. That is filtration. When you personalize rejection, you shrink. When you understand it, you rise. I remember the first times I had to offer what I carried without knowing how it would be received. My voice shook. My mind raced. Every part of me wanted to retreat. But the moment I spoke, something shifted. Not externally at first, but internally. I realized rejection did not break me. It clarified me. It showed me who was ready and who was not. And that clarity was freedom. Anointed one. People who change lives are not fearless. They are obedient in the presence of fear. Courage is not the absence of discomfort. It is the decision to move anyway. And when you finally step into the world with what you carry, something supernatural happens. Your confidence grows not because everyone accepts you, but because you survive not being accepted. These three shadows have kept you circling the same level, not because you are unqualified, but because elevation demands exposure, structure, and courage. Heaven is not asking you to be perfect. Heaven is asking you to be present, to be honest, to be willing. Chosen one, do not mistake your sensitivity for fragility. You are stronger than you think. You have survived seasons that should have crushed you. You have endured silence that should have broken your faith. And you are still here, still carrying, still sensing, still being called. This is the moment where heaven invites you to step out of the shadows you have learned to live in, not all at once, not recklessly, but deliberately, with eyes open, with heart surrendered, with hands ready. You are not being pushed, you are being positioned, and the shadows that once protected you have now become walls that must fall. Chosen one. When heaven decides that preparation has reached its limit, it does not give more instruction, it gives opportunity. This is the moment many misunderstand. They think alignment will feel calm, orderly, and safe. But divine tests rarely arrive wrapped in comfort. They arrive as pressure. They arrive as exposure. They arrive as moments that demand movement before confidence catches up. Anointed one. This is what the universe does when it is time to separate intention from obedience. It brings you to the edge of action, not theory, not prayer alone. Action. The kind that makes your heart race and your mind search for excuses. The kind that reveals whether you truly trust what you say you believe. I remember the first time I stood in a space where the outcome mattered, where people could see me, assess me, decide in real time whether what I carried had value. There was no script, no guarantee, just a narrow window and the quiet knowing that if I stayed still, nothing would change. That moment felt unfair. I had prepared, I had waited, I had prayed, yet heaven still asked for more. It asked for courage. Chosen one, this is the pattern. When God is about to elevate you, He places you where your faith must become physical. You are given a limited time, a limited platform, and a very real consequence. Not to punish you, but to awaken you, because dormant courage cannot be activated in comfort. It must be summoned in pressure. Anointed one. The test is never just about money. It is about posture. Will you wait to be chosen, or will you choose to show up? Will you sit behind what you built and hope people notice? Or will you stand in front of it and invite them in? The world rewards those who hide their fear behind effort. Heaven rewards those who move through fear with obedience. There will be moments, chosen one, when you look around and see others advancing faster. Their lines are longer. Their progress is visible. Their confidence seems effortless. And comparison will whisper that you are behind, that you started too late, that your offering is smaller. But comparison is not revelation. It is distraction. It pulls your focus away from the assignment and onto appearances. The universe tests you here by delaying validation, by allowing silence to stretch longer than comfort prefers, by forcing you to decide whether you will move without applause. This is where many retreat. They interpret the quiet as a sign to stop. But the quiet is not a no, it is an invitation to lead yourself. Chosen one. The breakthrough moment is almost never dramatic at first. It is awkward, unpolished, small. It begins with one step that feels beneath your potential, one conversation that feels uncomfortable, one offer that risks rejection. You approach someone and your voice feels unfamiliar in your own mouth. You ask a question that exposes your vulnerability. You invite when every instinct tells you to wait. I have felt that awkwardness, the heat in the chest, the urge to apologize for existing, the mental calculations racing ahead to soften rejection before it happens. But there is something powerful that occurs when you push through that discomfort. The moment you extend what you carry, the universe responds. Not always with immediate success, but with momentum. Anointed one action breaks spiritual paralysis. It interrupts cycles of overthinking. It brings clarity that contemplation cannot. The moment you engage the world with what you have, something shifts internally. You stop seeing yourself as potential and start seeing yourself as active. And that identity shift is priceless. Heaven watches how you move under pressure, not how perfectly you perform, but how honestly you engage. Do you retreat when ignored, or do you adjust and try again? Do you personalize resistance, or do you refine your approach? This is the difference between those who survive tests and those who graduate from them. Chosen one. The universe will often place you in environments where selling is required, not to make you greedy, but to make you brave. Selling is simply communication with conviction. It is the willingness to say this has value and I believe it enough to offer it. When you refuse to sell, you are often refusing to affirm the worth of what you carry. I learned this the hard way. For a long time I believed my work should speak for itself, that if it was truly meaningful, people would find it. But that belief was rooted in fear, not faith. Faith speaks. Faith invites. Faith does not wait to be discovered while hiding in the corner. Anointed one, the universe tests you by requiring initiative. It will not bring everyone to your door. It will ask you to step into rooms you did not design, to speak to people who did not ask, to extend invitations that may be declined. This is not rejection. This is refinement. And then comes the moment that changes everything. The first yes, the first exchange, the first confirmation that what you carry resonates beyond your imagination. It may be small, it may feel insignificant to outsiders, but inside something unlocks. You realize you are capable, not because someone praised you, but because you moved. Chosen one, confidence is not given. It is earned through obedience. Each step builds the next. Each risk strengthens your posture. Each interaction sharpens your clarity. And even when the numbers do not yet reflect success, your spirit knows you crossed a threshold. Heaven does not require you to win immediately. It requires you to engage fully. Losses are allowed. Imperfection is expected, but retreat is not. When you stay in the test, even when results are uneven, you demonstrate readiness for greater responsibility. Anointed one, the universe tests those it plans to trust. It exposes you to pressure not to overwhelm you, but to prove to you that you can withstand more than you think. The moment you stop hiding and start offering, you step into alignment with provision. This is where destiny stops being theoretical, where calling meets currency, where faith becomes function, and where heaven begins to move resources toward those who are willing to move themselves. Chosen one. This test is not about how much you sell. It is about whether you stand, whether you speak, whether you act. And once you do nothing inside, you will ever be the same. Chosen one. There comes a moment after the test when the numbers are finally laid bare. The noise fades, the adrenaline settles, the doors close, and you are left alone with the outcome. This is where truth speaks the loudest, not the truth shaped by emotion, but the truth revealed by results. And this is where many misinterpret what heaven is actually doing. Anointed one, you were taught to fear loss. You were conditioned to believe that if something costs you, it failed. But heaven measures differently. Heaven looks at who you became in the process, not just what you gained from it. This is why the first outcomes often feel disappointing to the mind, but liberating to the spirit. Because what looks like loss on paper may be victory in alignment. I remember sitting with the numbers after one of my earliest leaps of faith. I had done everything I knew to do. I showed up, I spoke, I offered what I carried, and when I counted the cost, it did not match my expectations. There was a gap, a visible deficit. For a moment my mind panicked. It whispered that I had miscalculated, that I had embarrassed myself, that I should have waited longer. But something deeper interrupted that narrative. Peace, not relief. Peace. The kind that does not come from profit, but from obedience. Chosen one. This is the redefinition of success heaven wants you to understand. Success is not the absence of loss. Success is the presence of alignment. Loss can teach what comfort never will. Loss exposes systems that need correction. Loss humbles ego while strengthening resolve. And loss, when faced honestly, removes fear of the future. Anointed one numbers are not your enemy. They are your teacher. When you look at them without flinching, they tell you where refinement is needed, where pricing must be adjusted, where energy has been overextended, where strategy needs maturity. This is not condemnation. This is calibration. Heaven does not punish you with loss. Heaven trains you through it. There is a dangerous mindset that circulates among gifted people. It says that if something does not immediately flourish, it must not be ordained. But ordination does not guarantee immediate reward. It guarantees long-term fruit. And fruit takes seasons. What matters most in the early stages is not abundance, but endurance. Chosen one, hear this carefully. If you quit now because the numbers are not impressive, you will misinterpret your assignment. The first outcome is not the verdict. It is the diagnosis. It reveals what must grow before expansion can occur. And those who are willing to stay, adjust, and learn are the ones heaven can trust with increase. I have watched people with less talent outpace those with greater gifting simply because they did not collapse under early disappointment. They did not romanticize the struggle, but they did not demonize it either. They treated it as part of the process. They understood that no real structure stands without early stress tests. Anointed one. The enemy loves to speak loudest after your first attempt. He will use the numbers to accuse you. He will say you are foolish for trying, that you wasted time, that you exposed yourself for nothing. But those voices are not prophetic. They are reactionary. Heaven speaks differently. Heaven asks, what did you learn? Heaven asks, what did you overcome? Heaven asks, are you still willing? This is where maturity is formed, not in moments of praise, but in moments of honest assessment. You now know what it costs to show up. You now know what it feels like to risk rejection. You now know that you can survive disappointment without losing your identity. That knowledge is wealth. Chosen one. The most dangerous thing you could do right now is measure yourself only by external results, because external results lag behind internal transformation. The courage you gain today will compound. The clarity you earn today will sharpen. The confidence you activated today will multiply. And when opportunity comes again, you will meet it differently. I want you to understand something deeply spiritual. Heaven does not reward effort with instant ease. Heaven rewards courage with access. When you prove that you can face reality without collapsing, heaven opens doors that comfort seekers never see. The first door is never the biggest. It is the proving ground. Anointed one. There is a reason why those who endure early losses often steward later abundance with humility. They remember the cost. They remember the fear. They remember the nights of doubt. And because of that memory, they do not waste provision when it comes. They respect it. They protect it. They use it with wisdom. This is why your current outcome does not disqualify you. It qualifies you. You have demonstrated something essential. You did not run when it became uncomfortable. You did not deny reality. You did not pretend the loss was a blessing. You faced it. And in doing so, you proved readiness for refinement. Chosen one, heaven never entrusts expansion to those who collapse under truth. The ability to face numbers without losing faith is a sign of spiritual maturity. The ability to accept correction without losing vision is a mark of leadership. And leadership is what your assignment requires. There is also a reward hidden in this moment that many overlook. When you lose the illusion of instant success, you gain freedom. freedom from unrealistic expectations, freedom from comparison, freedom from chasing validation. You begin to work from clarity instead of desperation, and clarity attracts alignment. I have experienced this shift personally. After facing early failures, something settled inside me. I stopped performing for outcomes and started building with intention. I stopped asking if it would work and started asking how it could grow. That shift changed everything. Not immediately, but inevitably. Anointed One. This is the place where many stop, but where you are being invited to continue, not blindly, not recklessly, but wisely, with eyes open, with lessons integrated, with humility intact. Heaven does not ask you to deny the loss. Heaven asks you to outgrow it. Chosen One, do not call this moment defeat. Call it definition. It defined your courage. It defined your commitment. It defined your willingness to walk the path instead of admire it from a distance. And those definitions will carry you further than any early win ever could. Stand here for a moment. Breathe. Let the truth settle. You did not fail. You were initiated. Chosen One. There is a sacred shift that happens after you survive disappointment without retreating. It is subtle, but it is irreversible. Something in you stops asking for permission. Something in you stops waiting to feel ready. And something deeper begins to rise, not ambition, not ego, but authority. This is the moment heaven has been preparing you for, even when you did not realize it. Anointed One, you have now crossed from intention into responsibility. Before, your gift was a possibility. Now it is an obligation, not a burden placed on you by people, but a stewardship entrusted to you by heaven. When you realize that others are depending on your follow-through, hesitation begins to lose its power. Fear does not vanish, but it no longer governs your decisions. I have learned that the most dangerous season is not the season of lack. It is the season of clarity. Because clarity removes excuses. When you know what works, what costs too much, and what needs adjustment, you can no longer hide behind confusion. You must choose. And choice is where destiny accelerates. Chosen One. This is where many people make a quiet mistake. They spiritualize waiting when heaven is asking for building. They pray for doors while ignoring the hinges they need to fix. They ask for increase while refusing to refine their systems. But heaven does not pour new wine into containers that have not been strengthened. Expansion requires preparation that looks practical, not mystical. Anointed One. This is where your everyday life becomes holy ground. The way you plan, the way you price, the way you schedule, the way you rest, the way you say no. These are not mundane decisions. They are spiritual disciplines. Stewardship is worship expressed through structure. And when you treat your assignment with order, heaven treats it with increase. I remember the season when I finally stopped asking if I deserved more and started asking if I was ready to manage it. That shift changed how I moved. I began to respect my time. I began to value my energy. I began to see boundaries not as limitations, but as protection. And with each adjustment, peace increased. Not because everything was easy, but because everything was aligned. Chosen One alignment brings a different kind of confidence. Not loud, not arrogant, but steady. You no longer chase opportunities. You recognize them. You no longer overextend yourself to prove worth. You move with discernment. And discernment is wealth before money ever arrives. This is also where you begin to understand the person who is waiting for your help more clearly. They are not looking for perfection. They are looking for consistency. They do not need you to be extraordinary. They need you to be present. Every time you show up reliably, you restore trust in a world that has disappointed them too many times. Anointed One. Your mission was never about saving everyone. It was about serving those assigned to you. And assignment always comes with provision. But provision follows order. It follows courage. It follows obedience expressed in action, not intention. There will be days when motivation fades, days when results feel slow, days when you question whether the cost is worth it. This is where surrender deepens. Not surrender that quits, but surrender that trusts the process. You stop trying to control outcomes and start committing to faithfulness. And faithfulness carries its own reward. Chosen one. Heaven honors rhythm. There is a rhythm to work, to rest, to give, to receive. When you honor that rhythm, burnout loses its grip. Scarcity loosens its voice. You begin to experience provision that does not exhaust you. And that is the kind of wealth that lasts. I want you to hear this with clarity and compassion. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not disqualified by your mistakes. What you have walked through has prepared you for a depth of impact that shortcuts could never have produced. The struggle refined your discernment. The loss sharpened your wisdom. The fear taught you humility. Anointed one. The people waiting for your help do not need a version of you that never failed. They need a version of you that learned how to stand after falling. That is what makes your voice credible. That is what makes your leadership safe. This is also the moment when heaven begins to bring support in unexpected forms. Not always dramatic, not always immediate, but precise. A conversation that clarifies direction. A connection that simplifies effort. An idea that multiplies effectiveness. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Chosen one, remain attentive. Elevation does not always announce itself. Sometimes it feels like increased responsibility. Sometimes it feels like refinement. Sometimes it feels like being asked to let go of what once worked so you can build what will last. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust the shaping. I have walked this road long enough to tell you this with honesty. The moment you stop running from your assignment, peace begins to guard your mind. Not because everything resolves instantly, but because you are no longer resisting what you were designed to carry. Resistance creates exhaustion. Alignment creates endurance. Anointed one, do not underestimate the power of your next small step. Consistency is more prophetic than intensity. The quiet decision to show up again tomorrow carries more weight than a dramatic leap followed by retreat. Heaven is not impressed by bursts. Heaven is moved by faithfulness. This is your charge. Build what you were shown, adjust what you learned, protect what you are carrying, and serve with the confidence that comes from obedience, not approval. Someone is waiting for your help, not someday, but now. And as you commit to this path with humility and courage, heaven commits to backing you with provision, wisdom, and strength. Chosen one. You are no longer preparing to begin. You have begun. Chosen one, this is the moment where everything becomes quiet again, not because nothing is happening, but because heaven is sealing what has already been activated. The noise of fear has faded. The chaos of uncertainty has lost its grip. What remains now is clarity, and clarity carries weight. You are no longer asking if you are called. You are learning how to carry what has been placed in your hands without dropping it. Anointed one, there is a maturity that only comes after you accept responsibility for your assignment. Before you were searching for confirmation. Now confirmation is searching for you. You feel it in the way your decisions slow down, not from hesitation, but from discernment. You no longer rush to prove yourself. You move with intention. This is the evidence of elevation, not excitement, but steadiness. I want to speak to the version of you that still remembers the loneliness of the early days. The days when you felt unseen, unsupported, and uncertain. Those days were not wasted. They trained your spirit to stand without applause. They taught you how to listen inwardly instead of chasing external validation. That training is now protecting you, because the higher you rise, the fewer voices you can afford to follow. Chosen one. Heaven does not elevate people who still need approval to function. It elevates those who have learned to obey quietly, those who can hold vision without broadcasting it prematurely, those who can carry responsibility without turning it into ego. This is why your journey unfolded the way it did. Not to slow you down, but to strengthen your foundation. Anointed one, wealth is approaching you in a form that may not look dramatic at first. It may look like stability. It may look like consistent provision. It may look like peace where anxiety once ruled. Do not underestimate this. Sustainable wealth always arrives dressed as order before it arrives as overflow. Heaven builds slowly, so nothing collapses later. I have witnessed this pattern in my own life. When I stopped chasing big moments and started honoring daily alignment, things began to multiply naturally. Opportunities found me instead of me chasing them. Resources aligned with timing instead of urgency. And the pressure I once carried dissolved into purpose. This is the kind of wealth that does not steal your sleep or your soul. Chosen one. You are now entering a season where your presence alone will bring reassurance to others. Not because you have all the answers, but because you have walked through the questions. People will sense safety in your leadership because it is rooted in experience, not theory. They will trust your guidance because it is grounded, not inflated. Anointed one. This is why heaven delayed certain connections until now. You were not ready to lead before. You would have tried to rescue instead of empower. You would have given too much without structure. You would have absorbed pain that was not yours to carry. Now you know the difference between compassion and responsibility, and that difference protects both you and those you serve. There will still be moments of challenge. Elevation does not remove resistance. It refines your response to it. You will face decisions that stretch you. You will feel the weight of impact. But this time, you will not panic. You will pause. You will assess. You will move with wisdom. That is authority in action. Chosen one, remember this truth as you move forward. You are not responsible for outcomes. You are responsible for obedience. Outcomes belong to heaven. Obedience belongs to you. When you stay faithful to what you are shown, provision follows alignment without striving. This is the supernatural order. I want you to release the need to control how things unfold. Control creates tension. Trust creates flow. The more you surrender timelines, comparisons, and expectations, the more room heaven has to work through you. You are not behind schedule. You are on assignment time. Anointed one. Your life is no longer about proving anything. It is about building something that lasts. And lasting things are built with patience, clarity, and humility. These qualities may not look impressive to the world, but they are irresistible to heaven. You may notice that certain desires are falling away. Certain distractions no longer hold your attention. Certain relationships no longer fit your frequency. This is not loss. This is alignment. Heaven is simplifying your environment so your assignment can breathe. Do not cling to what is being removed. Trust the process of refinement. Chosen one. The people who are waiting for your help will not always say thank you. Some will outgrow you. Some will misunderstand you. Some will leave. Do not let this discourage you. Impact is not measured by loyalty. It is measured by transformation, and transformation often requires release. I have learned that the greatest confirmation of calling is not applause, but fruit that continues after you step back. When others grow because of what you built, you know your work mattered. That is legacy, and legacy is the highest form of wealth. Anointed One, guard your heart as you grow, not by closing it, but by anchoring it. Stay connected to the source that called you. Stay rooted in humility. Stay open to correction. These are not signs of weakness. They are signs of wisdom. As you move forward, let your life speak quietly but clearly. Let your consistency testify louder than your words. Let your peace confuse those who expect pressure. This is the evidence of divine backing. Chosen One. Heaven is not asking more from you than you can carry. It has already equipped you with everything you need for this season. Trust what has been placed in your hands. Honor what has been entrusted to your care, and walk forward without shrinking. Someone was waiting for your help. You answered, and now heaven walks with you. Chosen One, as this word comes to rest upon you, know that nothing you have heard today was spoken in vain. Heaven has already marked this moment, and the movement you feel in your spirit is confirmation that a supernatural transfer is in motion. What has been delayed is aligning. What has been withheld is shifting. You are not approaching your breakthrough, you are standing inside your Kairos moment, your divinely appointed time. Anointed One, you are being sent forward with clarity, courage, and quiet authority. The fear that once restrained you no longer has permission to lead. The obedience you have chosen has activated provision, alignment, and support that will unfold step by step, exactly as you need it. Remain faithful in what you have been entrusted. Stay aligned with the flow of the anointing. Let gratitude guard your heart as heaven releases what has already been prepared for you. I declare peace over your mind, strength over your hands, wisdom over your decisions, and favor before those assigned to you. What you build will endure. What you release will return multiplied. And the people waiting for your help will find you right on time. If this word has resonated with your spirit, seal it with a quiet act of faith. Stay connected to this channel, and if you feel led, write your city in the comments as a testimony that you are ready to be found where heaven has planted you. Chosen One, go forward. Heaven is with you.